My name is Dan Fagella. I run the Black Diamond MMA Academy up in Wakefield, Rhode Island. I started training about 8 years ago. Right now I train under Alexander Soka in Long Island. And I'm in love with jiu-jitsu, I'm in love with running my business, and that's what brought me here. Cool, yeah. The event as a whole, for me, again, covering all the different aspects, is probably the biggest part. So the biggest part is, like, when I'm at home, I tend to focus on one individual thing. So I'll be like, okay, like squeeze page. I'll get obsessed with squeeze pages for like weeks, and I'll sort of think about the other things that are important, but they don't get brought to my mind. But every time I go to an event, and I've been to 5 or 6 events now, but every time I go to an event, I'll see new stuff, and I'll see stuff I knew I should be working on, and it'll just be able to round me out and make sure I'm focusing on the right things. So in jiu-jitsu, I'm all about focusing on the right things, the specific areas of my game. I watch my competition footage, I work on the stuff that matters at my particular competition, at my weight class, etc. In my business, I like to think I can make those determinations, but I'm not quite as much an expert in the business domain. So coming here helps me do that same thing, opening my scope up, figuring out my perspectives, honing in on the stuff that matters. Like, if there's any one overarching idea for like why I'm here now, I've been here before, it's that. We began, I just did the story up on stage or whatever, our whole little transformation story. We began in a 500 square foot spot, but they counted all the square feet that was like random little rooms. There was a boiler room that got counted in, right? We never went in the boiler room. There were actually 2, you wouldn't believe it, there were 2. We were in the basement, no windows, no anything. So there was all sweat building up. Everybody always had ringworm. I always tell the story. It was horrible. We lost like a third of our students at one point, like really, really bad times. There were 2 boiler rooms. That square footage got counted in, so I was paying for boiler rooms, which was, I look back on it, I'm like, man, I wouldn't have done that again. But anyway, so we were 300 square feet rolling space, if that, so actual mat we could use. It was shaped like they have the different kind of Tetris blocks. It was the one that has a nub coming out. It was like one of those weird, like an incomplete F, and that was our whole space. And that's where we were, and the main things that we were struggling with at that point was bringing people in and like having some kind of a process for what their first experience should be. We used to have 3-hour classes, so they come in, they take a full 3-hour class, they roll like all the horrible mistakes that we don't make anymore, and we were like, man, how do we get them to see it? How do we get them to kind of connect to it? And coming to the events, we then moved to our 2,000 square foot space. Now we're going into 4,500 square feet at this point to build out our women's program, some of our kids program stuff that we never had. So the major holes that we plugged were getting people in the door in the first place, letting people know about our gym, so all the SEO stuff and all the stuff that we had like some random page on page 2. Now we're doing like real good for all of our relevant terms in the entire state. Granted, it's a small state, but we do good for a little small town. And so getting all the traffic through the online, and then also having a system to be able to show people value, put people in an appropriate program, not beat them up or do the dumb stuff that us MMA guys do if we don't have business guidance. So those are the main holes for me. And again, we're in 4,500. It's going to be our biggest couple sales months ever coming up September, October, November. I'm like seeing the future. I'm 100% sure that's going to be the case. And we're pumped about it. We're still moving up. Yeah, I have a couple friends who run academies but aren't going to these events, run jiu-jitsu gyms or whatever. Some of whom I can talk to and try to convince them. Other guys, I'll be able to bring it up once, but I know they're going to knock it down. But there's been so many people that have been against it and then turned around. I was already tuned in to an extent, right? So when I heard about it, I went into it. And there's been a ton of people who've kind of shifted in. If you're not one of the guys that shifts in, just follow the stories of the guys who have. So if you have somebody who's gone to 3 of these events or even 2 of these events, ask how their school's doing, ask if they've been using the stuff they've learned. Like, a huge percentage of the people who come here, just by having a couple realizations, like you don't even have to go in and like revamp everything you're doing, just a couple ideas like, oh man, I really should be doing that. Go home, have it be 400% worth it within the first 2 months. So I would say do an event, one event. Come in, check it out, hear other people's stories, input, like get everybody else's ideas from where they've been and where they're going, get their perspectives, go home, stick a couple stakes in the ground and see if it doesn't automatically revamp the entire way you're doing it. That's exactly what happened to me. I'm 100% confident if you come here, you do, man, minimal work, it's going to repay itself, again, 400 times over. In terms of being around like-minded people, yeah, that's arguably one of the biggest things. So being able to talk to guys who otherwise I would have never known. Like I don't know who Tim Crater is. Maybe I don't follow the UFC closely enough. But getting to meet guys like Tim Crater, hear their stories, guys like my mentor Danny Ive, just being able to hang out with them. And like when you're at home, very few people are consistently grinding and plugging away to make their business more and more refined. And that's like the only thing that's on my mind 3/4 of the time, is that exact mindset. So having other people who are in the same boat, who are grinding away on the same exact grind, it's awesome, because you're getting to learn from people who are in similar circumstances, learning the systems they're inputting, the results they're getting, modeling with them, pinging ideas off of them, and if nothing else, just knowing that there are other people out there who are like down to hold you accountable and who have done the stuff you want to do and came from worse places. It's just cool. All right, again, this is Dan Fagella, Black Diamond Mixed Martial Arts in Wakefield, Rhode Island. Come here to one of these events. I hope to catch you at one of the next ones. I'm always here, anything East Coast. So like, be here, do some stuff, come up to me, ask questions with me. If you have any questions at all about this stuff, again, you know, it's gonna return a million times over. Just ask my story, you know, and I'll look forward to catching you at one of the next ones.